we were able to value add through the business background that we have, as well as the long distance. And that was where our side went. The other two are the experts in self-storage. So we stay focused on the multifamily, and we do weekly calls, talk about the business, make sure we're on target with everything that we've said that we're going to do. And we've been paying out pretty well on that. We actually, in 6 months time frame of ownership, we were able to double the value of the property. And so now we've owned it like just over a year, and we're getting ready to refinance it.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Chris Linger is retired military, has been a landlord since 2006, and has scaled his personal portfolio of simply 35 doors in 2020 to over 2,400 doors by Q1 2022. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, the pleasure's mine. Here's 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show in 90 seconds or less. Where'd you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Started out as an accidental landlord. As active duty military, we move around a lot. So bought a house, decided not to sell it when I left. Enjoyed the profits from that opportunity. 10, 11 years later, met my wife, and we scaled from 4 doors in 2016 to 35 doors in 2020. And now, like you said, we're at 2,400 doors in 2022. We did it through education, mentorship, and mindset changes.
Okay. Education. What'd you say the second one was? Mentorship?
Mentorship and mindset changes.
Mindset changes. We're going to dig into that some here on the show. So you started off as an accidental landlord in 2006, I think you said it was. You had 4 doors in 2016, so that is now 6 years ago. That's pretty rapid growth, man. I think most people would be pretty proud of acquiring 400 more doors per year over a 6-year period, but you really did most of this in between 2020 and 2022, which is even more astounding because 2020 was not exactly the year that everybody was jumping into multifamily. I mean, there was a good 6-8 month period where everybody's just kind of going, I don't know what we're doing. How did you is that when you started really going long in the space? Was everybody else kind of hit pause?
So we knew in 2018, 19 timeframe that we wanted to move into syndications. We saw that we weren't scaling enough, that we could give back more to the community the more that we did. And so out of that, we also knew I was active duty. My wife was a reservist. And we didn't want to deploy being in charge of other people's money. So we decided to just build our own portfolio, grow it as much as we could, as quick as we could. We were self-managing. And as soon as I retired or she got out of the military, then we were going to look at syndications as an opportunity. And so I actually retired in 2020 and we joined a mentorship I retired in September 2020 and we joined a mentorship the same month, which took us into syndications, gave us that opportunity to grow from zero or from starts to successful in a lot shorter time frame. Because we'd done so much ourselves, we knew that there was a better way.
Right.
And so that's the basics.
Got it. Okay. So September of 2020, even more impressive. So you talked about education, mentorship, and mindset changes. Education and mentorship, were those kind of two, one and the same? You mentor and as well as getting educated through that same group. Is that kind of what you put those together, or are those different bullet points for you?
They're actually different bullet points. In May of 2020, we joined we joined the W2 Capitalist Mastermind in May of 2020. It was the first time that we'd ever done things outside of ourselves. And we had attended a summit or a webinar that it really, his program kind of resonated with us. And the mastermind itself wasn't much of a program, to be honest. It was more like true collaboration. And through that system from May of 2020 until I'll say the end of 2021, we probably did about 9 different deals with people in that group because we were sitting there listening, getting to know them, knew their business plans. It was different things, whatever it was. So through education of other people's experiences, we were able to grow professionally. And then we were able to help other people grow as well, because some of those were first time first time opportunities for those investors. And so we were able to help them grow into their careers, which are now budding as well.
That's really cool. I like that. So you've joined a mentorship group. You also joined a mastermind. You put those two together, and it sounds like those were maybe the catalysts for your mindset changes. What do you feel?
Absolutely.
What do you feel like were the things that were getting in your way, in your own mind, that were preventing you from taking the next big giant steps like you've since taken?
Some of the mindset changes came from the education side of things. We didn't know what we didn't know, but we knew we didn't know it. And so you're afraid to move forward, and we needed to get out of our own way. So through the education, we could feel a little bit more confidence. We were able to see that, like at that time when we first started, maybe the biggest deal we did was a $500,000 deal where we had to bring 125 of our own money. And at one point, I remember my wife had talked to me about a $2 million deal that I was like, oh, there's no way. There's just no way that we could do that. Like, it just doesn't. After we got the education and everything, I'm kicking myself that we didn't do this deal. and here we are last, 2 months ago, we closed on a $23 million deal. So it's just a matter of mindset changes. Seeing the zeros on the back end didn't scare us once we knew the education behind it, the process, a proven process at that. We weren't making things up as we went along. We were actually following somebody else's footsteps. They say success leaves clues. And it's an easy trail to follow when you get those mentorship programs and education.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So fear, I guess, was one of the things you hit on there. And then just finding the confidence that, hey, this isn't as scary as it seems. What was the turning point when you feel like you went, oh, we got this?
That's a good question. Turning point for moving into syndications as a whole? Or just
when you knew that, hey, you know what? The next big deal we take down, we are ready. What was it that gave you that confidence?
I would say that the one that we actively sought after, chased down, contracted it ourselves, we felt confident about it because we had done several passive investments. We understood the process. We understood what our investors would need, what they would need to hear from us, and what we needed to know knowledge-wise. The education stuff, it all falls into play to build up to that point. But honestly, our passive investing experience really helped us to understand where we needed to go and how to lock on and bring in investors where we can make them money.
That's a great point, and I've been asked that a lot from people, such as yourself, and maybe that weren't active investors. And like, what's a good place to start? And I always say, if you have the capital, go be a passive investor. Go be a passive investor, and you'll get a front row seat to how deals are put together. You'll get the communication styles, especially if you're in multiple deals. You can learn so much from active sponsors or active investors just by being a passive investor in the deal. I know that's how I started, and when I switched from residential to commercial, and it was just like, I felt like an idiot at the same time because I'm like, I don't have any idea what they're talking about, but this sure is fun, and I'm learning a lot. So that's really cool that's the way that you started. How are you guys finding opportunity right now? And multifamily is it's a tough market to be in. So what are you guys doing?
Part of it is we've built relationships with a couple of brokers. So we're seeing some things before they're fully marketed. Another side of it is we have other teams that are interested in working together. And so it really puts, instead of only 2 hands or 4 hands doing the work, we've got 12 hands doing the work. And so you're more apt. The more you look at, the more you're likely you are to find one that works. We've done a few LOIs here and there, but where else are we finding deals? I'll say from networking, just talking with people. We had one person that we spoke with about investing. They came into one of our deals and they said, I have this other deal that I'm working with, that I'm in, have been in it for a year or something, and some of it is just not doing what they said, norming, whatever. And so we took the ownership information. We're going to reach out to them and find out if there's anything we can do. Maybe we can take it off their hands and help the situation. I can't promise anything, but it's another opportunity to find a product that's not actually marketed through a broker at the moment.
What are you guys finding is your competitive edge when it comes to, and I'm assuming you're looking for value add properties. Is that right?
We do a mix. We've got some A, B, and C.
A mix. Can you define that for me?
So right now, the 506B offering that we have, so I can't necessarily bring in some of your people on this. It's a Class A core asset that it basically just needs some cosmetic stuff, maybe add a dog park or something, some little things, little touch-ups, right, just to help enhance the renter experience. Other property, the one we closed in March, is a C class. It needs a little bit of help on the outside. I think it's 200 units, and I believe there's 50 that had been renovated since the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of classics. So there's a lot of value add available there. So we're going to take care of some of those and upgrade some of those. And so, yeah, we're on both sides of that.
That's interesting. I mean, because I guess that the question is, if you are doing value add, it's how are you finding the opportunities, and how are you underwriting it in such a way, that you get awarded the deal? I mean, because there's probably, I know you said earlier that relationships with brokers and getting a look at deals before it's gone, fully marketed. But even so, I mean, there's even on those deals, what I'm seeing is that there's still 5-10 people taking a look at it and making offers on it. How are you guys getting in there and winning the bid?
For that deal, it was fully marketed. I won't say that this didn't help us, but we knew the sellers. However, what they've told us ever since is that it was apples to apples. We were offering the exact same as somebody else. No real difference, because their concern was their investors, just like every operator. You want to make sure you're getting the best for your operators. And when it all came down to it, we were apples to apples, and they were like, "We have a relationship with you. We know you, and we want to see you guys exceed with this, excel with this as well." So that was part of how we got it. Now, the underwriting side, I felt like I got a good deal on it. We were cautious with our renovation budget. We made sure to put a little extra in there for any surprises. It is a 70s build, and but we did an ample amount of due diligence. We actually have a partner who's a CapEx guy, and rather than being the general contractor for the deal and getting paid that way, we actually brought him on as a GP so that he could come and it's his property too. And so that's really a nice little value add for us. Along those lines, I just want to add that opportunity is, we've done some stuff with Grant Cardone as well. And he actually talked about his first investment property. He did the same thing, and we didn't even know that up front, but he did the same thing. And what it does is it takes that cost of a general contractor off your NOI and makes it part of the GP, so thereby increasing the value of the property just in that one little swipe.
How did you structure that such that, let's say your general partner contractor stinks, right? Let's say they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Man, it's a terrible relationship. We want to fire you, but now we can't. How did you get around that?
So he's actually a member in our mentorship program as well. He's very, very well known within that program. And last year during the freeze in Texas, I happened to be in Maryland. I was babysitting our granddaughter. And when that happened, I reached out to the people in the group and said, "Hey, I know plumbing supplies are rough. If you guys need something, let me know. I'm up in the Northeast. I have access to a bunch of Home Depots with supplies. I can send you stuff." He was one of the few people that reached out. And from that time on, I sent him a whole bunch of stuff. And it was all on his card. I didn't pay for it up front. He did that. But from that time on, we got to know each other a lot better, a little bit more friendly. And I already knew his work ethic. He'd been in the program for a while. And he's pretty well known within the ecosystem that we have with Brad Somrock.
Got it. And so you felt like, the putting in some of those legal safeguards weren't necessarily necessary on this front, where you could say, all right, here's a way where we can remove you from your position, and here's what it's going to do to the deal if we do. So
we also, I want to say that we give him a fair percentage based on his work that he would be expected to do. He's also our boots on the ground. And so even if we had to fire him from that aspect, he would still be a part of the group. So to get him out wasn't like, it was never on the radar, but I do understand what you're saying. We can always replace him with the property management. It's a different fee, but we can replace him with the property management and change up the scale potentially.
Right.
I don't foresee that being an issue. He's, like I said, we built a good relationship. I've seen what he's done, and I don't expect that to change.
Sure. No. And I hope for your sake it doesn't. I was just really curious, 'cause that's something we were looking at in another business that I own, getting some outside counsel on it. And we're like, okay, we need to scale this business. There are certain seats on the bus that I need to fill that I'm not good at. So I'm asking questions for my own personal kind of learning from others in the industry. And it was like, how do we do this? And the advice that I got back, of course, this is a different scenario for what I've got here versus what you guys are working on. But it was, hey man, don't give up equity. And here's why. And these are longer term. This is a longer term business. This isn't something we look at exiting in 5 to 7 years. This is, for the duration probably. And he just said, look, here's things we've seen in the business. When equity is given up, there can be all these XYZ problems if I were you. And we laid out some alternative structures that I think will work for us. I was just really curious and why we got into that again. It's a different scenario, but still curious how people are overcoming and working around, what that could look like. Okay, what if something does go wrong? How do we fix this? What's that look like, to lay that out up front? Or in your case, like you're saying, you got somebody that is really well known, that has an excellent reputation, and that's not looking to change anytime soon. So that's I think that goes back to the first rule of investing, isn't it? Which is, who you invest in. Yeah, who you invest in and with is far more important than what you're investing in. So that's really cool. You mentioned that you've done a couple JVs here in the last year as well. Talk to me about, how the JV was structured for you guys. I mean, it's one thing to go do a syndication, but then it's another thing entirely to get invited in to go do a joint venture. How did that work out for you?
Really well, actually. One of them was storage, 84 unit self-storage outside of Charlotte. And it was the person's first deal. And we have a history of having been military, being stationed other places. My wife was doing remote work as well. Our portfolio was in Austin. So we had a really good grasp of how to do things long distance and maintain the property, maintain the business. And that was something that she had never dealt with before. But this was a completely hands-off business. We could do everything online. There's a service provider that will do the phone calls, take the billing, all that good stuff. And all we had to do was hire a boots on the ground person. We actually hired 2, which the third partner in the JV had experience, but had never done that before either. And we quickly realized how valuable that is to have a second set of eyes that you're not local, but they are. Not that they're telling on one another, but, hey, maybe somebody has to go take a vacation, family emergency, whatever. The other guy can pick up the slack a little bit. So that was an extra plus. But yeah, we were able to value add through the business background that we have, as well as the long distance. And that was where our side went. The other 2 are the experts in self-storage. So we stay focused on the multifamily, and we do weekly calls, talk about the business, make sure we're on target with everything that we've said that we're going to do. And we've been paying out pretty well on that. We actually, in 6 months time frame of ownership, we were able to double the value of the property. And so now we've owned it like just over a year, and we're getting ready to refinance it.
That's cool. Now, did you guys bring all the capital to the table for that deal? Was that how the joint venture was structured, or what was the joint venture that the other partners needed you for?
So I'll let you in on a little secret. What we brought was in direct proportion to our ownership percentages for the down payment. Yeah, everybody brought money to the table. 3 days before closing, we had, I'll back it up just a little bit. About a week and a half before closing, we had closed on another property that we sold. So we had money in the bank. 3 days before closing, the bank said, you know what? None of you live in the state. We're not feeling comfortable about it. We're just not going to be able to lend on this deal. And I looked at my wife and cover your mouth, so that people can't see you talking. And I'm like, hey, we have the money in the bank. We're comfortable with doing loans. We've done private money before for flips and things. I was like, we could just put it in here for now. And she was like, let's do it. And so right there on the spot, we offered terms, we did everything. And, we said, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. I'm telling you right now, we're doing a good deal for it because it's our deal. We give them a really good interest rate. And we ended up being the bank for this. And that's part of why we want to refinance it this year, is get the money back out and start working again. Not that it hasn't been working.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's just a timing. That's that's just fortunate timing, being able to have the dry powder handy.
Absolutely.
For when something like that comes up. And it's amazing to me that lenders get, and I still don't understand it. I guess this is one of those puzzling things in commercial real estate. I'm still just real estate in general. I'm like, why are we waiting 3 days before closing to, and that just goes to knowing your lender. Like that's, I mean, that's been reiterated on this show over and over and over again, which is know your lender, work with the same lender, and know your lender. And then you can avoid things like that happening. I mean, because if you didn't have the capital handy, it would have been a mad scramble to try and figure out what your next.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's. But I still don't understand it. Why would they waste all that time?
Yeah.
Getting ready and then talking about it and filling out paperwork and all this other stuff. And then 3 days before they have a committee meeting, they're like, "Nah, I think we're going to bow out." Like that's a waste of a lot of life. So. Anyway,
it felt really good to just stick it to them though and say, all right, that's fine. We're still going to close. We'll see you later.
You're going to send them your refi paperwork.
That felt so good.
I'm sure it did. I mean, in a good way. It's like, I don't need you. I'm sorry, you're screwing me, but I don't need you. So bye. And you should send them your refi too once you get that completed. Just I won't let you remember. Just here's the value of the property that you were too scared about. So have a nice day.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding you. That's probably a waste of your time. Anyway, Chris, this has been fun, man. It's super cool. What you told me there in the beginning was that the 3 things you've done, which was educate yourself, was to get a mentor, and then get your mindset changed. And you guys have had explosive growth since then. You've been involved in some really cool projects. You've done everything from joint ventures to syndications. You've got 2,400 plus units, I think, at this point in the multifamily space. And you guys are rocking and rolling. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our investors here before we sign off?
up-plex.com. It's upplex.com. See what we're up to. See what we've got going on. We've got an investor link. We've got a YouTube. We have a series that we started in there called the Savvy Passive Investor, that if you're not sure some of the information, it's a great opportunity to be non-obtrusive to either one of us, you or us, in scheduling time. You get to educate yourself a little bit free of charge, and then schedule a call with us. That's also available on the website. We'd love to have people check us out.
Awesome. Chris, thank you again for your time today. I certainly appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Sam. We'll talk to you later.